Hello and welcome back to the channel. I have a quick update on a story that I previously shared. A few days ago I talked about an officer who responded so quickly when he saw that a black woman that he had pulled over. He saw that she had a permit in her wallet, and the permit caused him to draw his weapon and point it at her head, literally. He didn't see a gun. As a matter of fact, she didn't even have one on her, right? He pulled her over for a seatbelt and a cell phone infraction, and basically flipped out when he saw merely the card in her wallet. Okay, so the update to that is many of you in the comment section stated that the officer was Asian, and I know people do that because most of the time when these kinds of things happen, it's usually someone that is Caucasian or white. But the point I wanted to make in doing this update was the fact that many times people don't realize when I talk about the scripture says that ye shall be hated of all nations, that is not just talking about one race of people or one group of people. As it relates to so-called black people, it says that ye shall be hated of all nations. This is why it's very important to understand who the Bible is talking about when it says certain things. Now, these scriptures are being misapplied to people who are, what can I say? They're not really from the tribe of Judah, but they refer to themselves as Jewish people, right? And so those scriptures are being misapplied to them, but it makes sense when you apply it to the right group of people, right? Because there are so many other things that talks about the tribe of Judah that specifically outlines the plight of so-called black people in this country and around the world. It talks about the fatherlessness. It talks about our young men being on the street corners like wild bulls. It talks about the separation of our families and all kinds of things. You can't just look at one passage and try to apply it to one group because that thing might be so, even though in that case, that is not the case, right? When you say they shall be hated of all nations. But all nations do feel that way for the most part about so-called black people in this country and around the world. Okay, but okay, let me get to the point of this video though. Okay, if he is Asian, okay, he's Asian. He's another nation that also feels some kind of way about so-called black people. Remember, I did a video recently as well where there was an Asian guy chanting an Asian group, not just a guy, but a group of Asians was chanting at these basketball stars as they were getting off this bus, this team bus, maybe not a team bus, it was a shuttle bus for a team, right? And they were calling them the N-word, and they saying, we don't want you in China, right? And so it is known that so-called black people are hated around the world, not just here in America. So the fact that he's Asian is still racism, right? But another thing that I want to do to tie it to the laws of Europeans is the fact that many foreigners have stated that when they come to this country that they are groomed. We know people personally who say that they are groomed to keep away from the so-called Negro, right? They are kind of, groomed and made to believe that you don't deal with black people. They tell them this. Even Africans have experienced this, where so-called, we know of Africans who have said that they want them to draw a clear line of separation from them and American blacks, so that they don't fall into the same group. And so they draw that line of separation and say that we are clearly different. That's how many of them feel. Some of them don't, but some of them do, right? And then I wanted to also talk about the George Zimmerman case. Now, he has a white father and I believe a Spanish or Latino mom or something. And so a lot of people were saying that it shouldn't count as racism because he's not fully white. And I said to myself, that is that okie doke that they try to pull over on you because he got the full support of white America in what he did. So you can't just look at someone's, whether they're 100% European or whether they have some Latino in them, because there are white Latinos, there are black Latinos. And so all of this weirdness that they try to put into dividing of the races, they do this to try to confuse people's minds, when in reality there's really only two. You have black and you have white, and all of those in between. All of those in between races, like Latinos and what they call some of the lighter skinned Aboriginals and Eskimos, whatever you want to call people that may be in Alaska that are not white or fully white. These are just mixed people. Even the so-called Americans that they are calling native today, the original Native Americans were dark indigenous children of Ham, but they mixed or blended with Europeans and Asians to get the look that they have, right? So all of this mixing has mixed people's minds up to where they get thrown off when people say, well, oh, the guy who pointed the weapon was Asian. He wasn't white. It's still racism, y'all. Many of these other groups are taught to be this way towards the tribe of Judah or so-called black people here in America. They tell them to separate from us. You even have people in South America or in the Caribbean who like to draw a line of separation too and say, oh, we're not the same. Some do, some don't. But that line of separation is drawn, and that's because there is a specific thing going on with the tribe of Judah here in America. They have been brought so low to everyone wants to disassociate. But it was prophesied that they would be brought so low, y'all. Because the Most High, once he does the purging of his own people, the tribe of Judah is going to shine and be elevated to a position that the Most High is going to put them in. Not something that you can take and grab on your own. This is something Yah is going to do. Okay? I know that I've said a whole lot here, but I'm trying to make sense of why, people wanted to point out that the Asian cop did this and not a white cop. It doesn't really matter. Racism exists in other groups as well. You see, especially when they are told to treat so-called black people a certain way. George Zimmerman was the perfect case, how he was cheered and championed by white America for what he did to that young black teenager, Trayvon Martin. Okay. And so I believe even in the Philando Castile case, I, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he was fully white either, the officer in that case. And so a lot of people want to point that out as if it matters. It doesn't matter who is throwing the racism at so-called black people here in America. It is what it is. Okay. And it doesn't make it hurt any less worse when a person's life is put in danger or threatened or taken simply because they are treated differently than anyone else would have been treated. Because I can guarantee you this, the officer, Calvin, Pham, whatever his name is, we all know, you would be lying to yourself if you say you didn't know, right? But we all know that that officer, that Asian officer that everyone's talking about, would not have pulled a weapon and pointed it at a white woman's head. You're kidding yourself if you think he would have done the same thing if he saw a white woman with that card in her wallet after pulling her over. First of all, would he have even pulled her over for a seatbelt or a cell phone thing? Would he have done that? Is there anybody in the comment section who can honestly say that that Asian officer would have pulled over a white female because of a seatbelt or a cell phone violation? Chime in below if you believe he would have. Let's take it a step further. Would that Asian officer have pulled over an Asian woman for a seatbelt or a cell phone violation? Okay, chime in below and let me know if you think so. And either one, I doubt very seriously if that Asian man, and I know I'm making my point. I'm making a point to make this point, y'all. I know for a fact that that Asian officer would not have pointed his gun at an Asian woman's head or a white woman's head if all he saw was a permit to carry a weapon. I'm done with this. Only a delusional person who is not being honest would think that those two women would have gotten the same treatment as that black woman. All right, this is in keeping with Black History Month because there were things that took place in the past in America's history against so-called Black people. And we continue to see these things happening today without no break in the link or no break in the chain. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. You know it. And this also ties into biblical prophecy of how the tribe of Judah would be treated in our land of captivity. I'm done with this video, y'all. In the comment section below, remember to keep it tight and keep it right. But until next time. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.